Once upon a time there was a poor sheep who lived in a cosy cottage with his 2 children, Hamish and Greta. Their father loved them very much, but their stepmother, a stern goat, was not kind at all. One day there wasn't enough food in the house, and the stepmother, worried about feeding everyone, decided to take Hamish and Greta deep into the forest and leave them there. But Hamish was very clever. The night before, he had overheard the plan and gathered small white stones, knowing they would help him find his way back home. The next morning, when they went into the forest, Greta dropped the stones along the path. Hamish glanced back now and then, hoping they would be enough to lead them safely home. When their stepmother left them, Hamish and Greta followed the trail of stones back home, the glistening white pebbles shining in the moonlight like tiny beacons. Their father was so happy to see them again, he wrapped them in a tight hug, tears of joy filling his eyes. He promised never to let them go into the forest again, and they all sat by the fire feeling safe and loved. But soon there was no more food left, and the house grew cold and empty. With a heavy heart, he could not stop his wife from taking the children into the forest once more, even though it pained him deeply. Once again, the stepmother led Hamish and Greta deep into the forest. This time, Hamish didn't have time to collect stones, so he dropped breadcrumbs along the way. However, when they tried to follow the crumbs home, they discovered that the birds had eaten all of them. They wandered through the forest, growing hungrier and tired. After a long time, they came upon a house made entirely of candy and sweets. The walls were made of gingerbread, the roof was covered in icing, and the windows sparkled like sugar. The children were so hungry that they began to nibble on the house. Suddenly the door opened, and out came an old, kind-looking fox lady. "Oh, dear children, come inside," the old woman said. "You must be so hungry. I have plenty of food inside." Hamish and Greta happily followed her into the house. But little did they know she was really a wicked, hungry fox. She locked Greta in a cage and made Hamish do chores for her. The fox planned to fatten Greta up and eat her. Every day the fox would check on Greta by feeling her paw, but Greta was as clever as Hamish. Instead of showing her own finger, she would stick out a small bone she had found, and the old fox, with her poor eyesight, thought Greta was still too skinny to eat. One day the fox grew tired of waiting. She told Hamish to heat up the oven to cook Greta, but little did the fox know that Hamish had a clever plan of his own. Hamish pretended to struggle with the oven, asking the fox for help. When the fox bent down to check the oven, Hamish gave her a big push, and the wicked fox fell into the oven, never to bother anyone again. Hamish quickly shut the oven door and locked it tight, making sure the fox could not escape. Then he quickly freed Greta from the cage, and together they found treasures hidden in the fox's house. They filled their pockets with jewels and gold and happily ran back home. When Hamish and Greta returned home, their father was overjoyed to see them. He told them that their stepmother had left, unable to live with the guilt of her actions. With the treasures they brought, they lived happily ever after, never hungry again.